Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping straight into something I think we've all felt, probably in different ways. Peer pressure,
Mm-hmm.
or as it's known in Vietnamese, áp lực đồng trang lứa.
Exactly. And, to really get into this, we looked at a really interesting YouTube conversation.
Right.
It was between at Maken, Ha Trang, who's in university, and Bao Nghi, who's still navigating high school.
Ah, okay. So different perspectives there.
Totally. It gives this great snapshot of how this pressure feels at different points in life.
So this deep dive, our mission really, is to pull out the key insights from their chat about this áp lực đồng trang lứa.
Yeah, we want to understand, what is it? Where does it come from?
How does it affect us?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess most importantly, how do we deal with it?
Right. So they started off with something that sounds simple but isn't really.
Okay.
Defining dong trang lứa, peers.
Ah, right. Who are our peers?
Well, Bao Nghi, being in high school, her first thought was, okay, people my age, or maybe people in my school.
That makes sense. Seems pretty straightforward.
It does, initially. But then as they talked more, she kind of expanded that.
Oh, how?
She started thinking it could also be people with a similar background, or maybe the same skill level. Like, if you're in the same language class, maybe?
Ah, I see. So not strictly about age then, more about context.
Exactly. And Ha Trang, she really jumped on that, especially thinking about work.
Okay.
In a professional setting, she said, your colleagues might be different ages, but you share similar roles, similar pressures.
That's a great point. Your peer group changes depending on where you are, school, work, hobbies.
Right. It's not a fixed thing. It adapts.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Who do you, listening now, consider your peers? Is it just age? Or is it those shared situations, those places where you kind of naturally compare yourself? Okay, so they defined peers. Then they got into the nitty-gritty, like how does this pressure actually show up?
Yeah, and no surprise, academic pressure was huge.
I bet.
They talked about konanyuta.
Ugh. The classic other people's amazing child.
Exactly. This, impossible standard of perfect grades, endless achievements.
Right.
And Bao Nghi shared something really personal. She talked about not getting into a specialized high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and feeling totally worthless because of it, even though
Let me guess, she'd actually done well leading up to it.
her practice scores were apparently really high, but that one result just crushed her self-worth. It shows how much weight we put on these things.
That feeling is so real, that inadequacy, even when you've put in the work. It's not always just parents or society, is it?
Now, Bumi mentioned teachers too, maybe comparing classes, trying to motivate, perhaps, but
inadvertently cranking up the pressure.
yeah. And Ha Trang had a different angle on academic pressure when she got into her university program.
Yeah.
Her classmates just seemed so good at English, way ahead.
Yeah.
And even though she was doing okay, technically, that comparison made her feel really inadequate. She actually disliked school for a while because of it.
Wow. So it wasn't about grades, but about feeling like you're falling behind your immediate peers.
Precisely. It's about that specific group you're measuring yourself against.
Then they moved on to social stuff, appearance.
Yep. Especially being in high school, right?
Yeah.
Bendy talked about seeing these tight-knit groups of friends and feeling lonely, feeling like maybe people didn't like her. Just from observing, that need to belong is so strong.
Definitely. And the whole appearance thing.
Oh, yeah. Pressure to conform, hair, makeup. Bunny mentioned feeling different because her style wasn't necessarily what was popular among her peers.
That constant push and pull between being yourself and fitting in, it's exhausting.
And then, of course, social media.
Knew it was coming.
Bunny mentioned confession pages online.
Oh, those things.
And how not being mentioned, not getting that kind of validation, made her question herself.
It's like a constant feedback loop, isn't it? You scroll, you compare, you feel less than. It just amplifies everything.
It really does. It feeds right into that, what's it called? Social comparison theory. We can't help but compare ourselves, especially online where everything looks perfect.
Yeah, often unrealistically perfect.
Wow.
Okay, so academics, social, appearance. Did they touch on anything else?
They did, actually. Financial pressure.
Ah, interesting. More of an adult thing, maybe. Or university.
Yeah, Ha Trang talked about it from her university experience, being financially independent, managing money.
Right.
And she lived in this tiny, she called it a half-basement apartment.
Okay.
And at first she felt embarrassed, comparing it to friends who maybe had nicer places, maybe more support from family.
I can see that comparison trap again.
But then she had the shift. She realized, hey, wait a minute, I'm doing this on my own. I'm self-reliant.
Nice.
And that thing she was embarrassed about actually became a source of pride. It's about how you frame it.
Totally. Reframing that pressure into strength.
Mm.
That's powerful. Did they mention pressure about the future, like careers and stuff?
Briefly, yeah. Bao Nghi had a friend in one of those specialized schools
Huh?
who felt totally lost because everyone else seemed to have their whole life, their career all mapped out.
Oh, man, that's a heavy one. The pressure to have all the answers when you're still figuring things out.
Exactly. Especially when it looks like everyone else does.
So listening to all this, you probably recognize some of these pressures, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the academic stuff hits home, or the social comparisons, or worrying about money or the future.
It's likely a mix for most of us at different times.
So the conversation then went into this interesting Vietnamese saying, "Upluk dong and Kim Kung."
Pressure creates diamonds.
Right. The idea that you need intense pressure to grow, to become resilient, strong.
It's a common idea, definitely, that challenges make you better.
But is it always true?
Well, that's what they questioned. They brought up the flip side, aptan and nukmat.
Pressure creates tears.
Exactly. It acknowledges that for a lot of people, intense pressure doesn't create diamonds. It creates anxiety, burnout.
People give up.
Yeah, it's just too much. So that diamond idea, while maybe inspiring for some, it ignores the reality for many others.
It's a really important counterpoint. So who tends to feel this pressure most? Is it just kids? Teenagers?
Well, their chat suggested it's much broader than that.
Really?
Yeah. While we think of teens, they touched on things like parental expectations continuing into adulthood,
Ah, okay.
or until it's comparing careers with their peers. It doesn't just stop after school.
That makes sense. Feeling measured against people your age or in similar life stages?
Yeah.
That probably never fully goes away.
It seems like it's a pretty common human thing right across the lifespan.
So if it's that pervasive, the big question is, how do we cope? What did Ha Trang and Bao Nghi talk about in terms of strategies?
Ha Trang had a really key moment, a turning point for her.
Yeah.
She consciously decided to stop focusing so much on external standards, like what others were achieving,
And focus on.
her own personal best,
Yeah.
what she could do. And interestingly, she said gratitude really helped.
Gratitude. How so?
Being thankful for her experiences, even the hard ones. It kind of shifts your focus, doesn't it? From what you don't have compared to others to appreciating what you do have.
That's a really powerful shift. Focusing on your own journey. Finding things to be grateful for within it.
Mm-hmm. And Bunji had a similar idea for gaining perspective.
What was that?
Sometimes looking at people who are facing even bigger challenges, who are less fortunate, it can kind of recalibrate your own problems.
Right. Put things in perspective. Not to dismiss your own feelings, but to see the bigger picture.
Exactly. And they circled back to social media, of course.
The comparison engine.
Both of them admitted feeling overwhelmed by it sometimes, that curated perfection you see everywhere.
Yeah.
And they both actually said they'd sometimes just delete the apps for a while.
Just step away. Create distance.
Yeah. Recognizing that constant comparison wasn't healthy. Just needing a break from it.
That takes self-awareness. Hey, Trang also mentioned something about validation, didn't she?
She did, realizing she didn't need to, broadcast every little success online to feel good about it.
Finding satisfaction internally, not from external likes or comments.
Exactly. And Bao Nghi really stressed communication.
Talking about it.
Yeah. Talking to people who might be putting pressure on you, maybe without realizing it. And also talking to friends, family, people who can offer support and just listen.
That openness seems key.
Yeah.
And underneath all that, just recognizing everyone's different.
Totally. Everyone's on their own path. Comparing yourself doesn't really make sense when you think about it. It's about self-compassion.
So that's coping for yourself. What about helping others who are struggling?
Bao Nghi's approach was pretty simple but effective.
Yeah.
Just checking in. If someone seems down or stressed, just ask them how they're doing. Let them know you see them.
Sometimes that's all it takes, isn't it? Just knowing someone cares.
Mm-hmm. And Ha Trang added the idea of validating people's strengths beyond the usual things.
Like not just grades or achievement.
Right. Recognizing their kindness or creativity or resilience, things that often get overlooked when the focus is just on conventional success.
That's really important. Broadening the definition of what counts.
And she also talked about being open about your own struggles.
Normalizing it.
Yeah, especially for young people feeling lost about the future. Like her message to Ben Yi's friend was basically, hey, it's okay. Lots of us are still figuring things out. You're not alone in feeling uncertain.
That transparency can be so helpful, creating spaces where it's okay to not have it all together.
Exactly. Fostering that culture of understanding, less judgment.
Okay, so let's try and boil this down. What are the main takeaways from their conversation?
Well, first, this app luck dong tranglia. It's not simple. It's complex. It shows up everywhere: school, social life, money, future.
Right, it's multifaceted.
Second, who we consider our peers isn't fixed. It changes. Our benchmarks change depending on the context.
Good point. What else?
Third, relying only on what others think, that external validation. It's shaky ground for self-worth. Building internal acceptance is crucial.
Definitely. Need that solid core.
Fourth, we can manage it. Things like talking openly, shifting perspective, practicing gratitude. These are real tools.
Active coping mechanisms.
Yeah. And finally, empathy. Understanding others, understanding ourselves.
Yeah.
That's vital for navigating this whole thing.
So wrapping up this deep dive.
Yeah.
It's clear peer pressure is, well, it's a thing. A big, common, complicated thing.
Absolutely. It's part of the human experience.
But understanding how it works, where it comes from, and consciously using some of these coping strategies that can really empower you.
It gives you back some control.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with.
Yeah.
Think about this. What are some of the pressures, maybe subtle ones you haven't even named, that you might be internalizing? From peers, from society, from wherever.
And maybe flip that around too. Are there ways you might unintentionally be projecting expectations onto others? How can you start to redefine what success means for you personally? And maybe cultivate a bit more compassion for your own journey, struggles, and all.
And for the journeys of the people around you, which are probably just as complex as yours?